Good morning.
Hello?
Hello there.
Hello, Wolfgang. How are you?
I see so many people suddenly.
Hello. Great.
Yeah,
Well,
hi, Kurt. And who is the other one?
I'm Bridget. Good morning.
Richard. Hi, Richard and Kurt. And hello, Peter.
Peter's having technical issues.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
Peter, would it work better if you didn't have your camera on? Would that help it a little?
You can switch him off, we don't need him.
Rude.
It working yet?
You know, I'm a nice guy.
You're back in the room, but you just missed an absolute cracker from Wolfgang.
Oh, did I? That always happens. My signal drops then.
In your studios, is some steam, huh? Comes it from the oven, from the kitchen, or what is happening there?
What, in my studio, Wolf?
Yeah. What is with the lens of your camera? Maybe it's
Is it? Yeah, it's a bit. Is it better if I change the light? Hang on.
maybe too light. Yeah.
Is this better?
Oh, that's worse.
So, good morning to Wolfgang and to Peter, and it's a pleasure. Are you in the sauna, Peter?
Yeah, I might as well be. Sorry. I don't know what's going on.
No. Okay, lovely. Well, obviously, we're going to talk about the Magazine One album and your live performances and how you two sort of got together and your relationship since then, really. We might touch on Kraftwerk a little bit because why wouldn't we, really? So you got together in Hebden Bridge in 2015. Was that a festival?
Yeah, Peter must tell that because he invited me. It was his reason to get me there.
Yeah. So yeah, 2015, June 2015, Wolfgang was invited to Hebden Bridge Arts Festival, which is a great little festival here. It's an arts and music festival, and the whole town is just buzzing all week. So yeah, obviously Wolfgang arrived, and I picked Wolfgang up from the airport, Leeds Bradford Airport, and we drove back that hour-long drive back, and we were just. It was strange by the end of the drive. We were just there was so much chemistry, and we had such a good laugh. And we got to Hebden, took Wolf to his hotel, and then we mooched around. We went to the sound check, and just the whole evening just panned out. It was just like we'd known each other for years. You know, it was a really lovely evening. Great show, fantastic show, Wolf. I remember it well. First time I saw you, and
Me too. It was very hot, very steamy there.
yeah, it was really. Yeah,
Really?
It's always hot and steamy here. That's what my camera's
Really?
doing. It's yeah. So it was just a really lovely day and evening, and we had a great time. And we've just been really just the best of friends ever since.
Yeah, the good thing is that I didn't know that he is such a great musician, you know, because he's so drawn back and he doesn't talk too much about. He's so fine person, you know. And I asked him what he's doing beside, and yes, I'm also making some music, and he gave me a CD with soundtracks of him and also his SoundCloud enter, and I listened to some of his tracks and they really touched me. And then I asked him, should we not maybe do something together? And there was a track on already. It was a soundtrack with no vocals. It was not pop music then, but it was very, very good made film music to me. It spoke some stories to me already, you know. And a track which was already called Birmingham, and I asked him, why do you do this? Because I'm born there. It's my birth town, and it's an homage to my birth town. And I said, it's wonderful. So let's make a track from that. Yeah, I love Birmingham, by the way. Since then, I did not know anything about Birmingham, but then I had to learn because I had to write the lyrics, and I went through so many pages, books, and internet to learn much things about Birmingham, why it's such an important city, and that even a very important music genre came from there, and not from America, you know. And this is everything I learned and wrote until everything came together. And then we had to have a singer for it. And in that time, I was not a good singer. I was not trained enough because, you know, I did not sing in my former groups, besides of my amateur groups, before I became a professional musician. So then we asked a friend of mine, Andy McCluskey from OMD, and he said immediately, no, why should I? I don't do this, Wolfgang. I'm a Liverpooler. How could I sing a song on Birmingham? So that was funny, right? So this is a fight is very similar, like maybe between Düsseldorf and Cologne here in Germany. We don't hate each other, but we are very complementary cities. They think they make the better beer, but we do that, you know. And there are some other reasons. Anyway, the English had the reason, and that's a long story. It has to do with the war, why they have chosen us, Düsseldorf city, for the capital city of North Rhine-Westphalia and not Cologne. Anyway, then we asked another friend of mine, Claudia Bruggen, from former Propaganda, and she said immediately yes. And that was a very good thing that Andy said no, and she said yes, because she fitted much better in. So that was our first work together.
Yeah.
Peter,
And her voice is absolutely beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. Peter, why did you leave Birmingham? Did you go to Hebden Bridge from there, or were you somewhere in between?
No, so I left Birmingham when I was 18. I went to university in Manchester. And then I lived in London for a while. I was working writing music education. So, like, we were teaching people how to play the guitar through, you know, CD-ROMs and all that when they were just a thing.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I started doing some work on that, and that was brilliant. But actually, I ended up in Hebden because my wife Kate, she was living in Hebden when we met. So she moved down to London, and then, you know, when you start thinking about where you actually want to live, it's kind of North London, Tottenham borders, or, you know, Hebden Bridge, and Hebden Bridge kind of one because it's beautiful, you know, and it's stunning. I've never lived anywhere quiet like this, and I didn't know how it would turn out, but I always tell people who ask me about it, I just say the first day I woke up when I moved here, I felt like I was on holiday, and 20 years later I still feel like that every day when I wake up. So it's a really lovely chilled out place. It's very special.
Yeah. And does that environment help your music?
Absolutely, yeah, because you meet so many interesting people here as well. You know, there's so many people drawn here because there's such a nice kind of artistic kind of community. And that can sound a bit cringy, but it's not in a kind of cringy way. You know, there are some genuinely really lovely, interesting people here, and there's a big focus on the arts and music and all of these things. So, you know, I've got 2 kids as well, and it just seemed like just the right place to bring kids up. It's a really nice, easy, manageable, and beautiful place to kind of bring kids up in as well. Yeah. So,
there's another famous drummer living there in your city, right?
There's lots of famous. There's a few. Oh, Chris,
special drummer. I have met him with your son, who gets lessons with him.
Yeah, he was the drummer in Simply Red, but he taught my son how to play drums, so he lives here as well. He runs a little drum thing, and
Cool.
yeah, actually a good friend of mine who lives here is a guy called Gordon Raphael as well, who produced the first 2 Strokes records. Yeah, he's found himself in heavy. We often have a coffee together and talk about synthesizers a lot. So yeah, there's lots of interesting. You meet interesting people all the time. You know, it's kind of one of those strange places. It's good.
Yeah. It is important, isn't it? Your surroundings. If you're happy in your surroundings, that can be reflected in the music that you write. Wolfgang, do you find the same? Also, with your architect background, do you find that had help in the music you were writing? Did it have any influence over your writing and where you grew up?
Absolutely. I mean, I spoke a lot of these things because that's really an important thing to artists from all genres. And it's not only musicians, also writers and painters, I think, all have impact. Everything has impact on your surrounding and where you grow up. So I grew up actually in Frankfurt, where I was born, in a very nice part of the first broken. At first, it was broken after the war, of course. Every German town was broken. But we children played in the streets, and we did not acknowledge that there was war. What is war? It was a damaged city, and it was the best playground for us, my twin brother and my older brother. And the streets were full of children after the war. The families had to build up, you know. So we played mostly outside, and We lived very near to the river Main. The river Main is a smaller river than the river Rhine, and it flows into the Rhine. And the next city we lived was Koblenz in mid-Rhine area of Rhineland-Pfalz. And this is the most beautiful city. It's starting where the Lorelei mountains are, the wine hills, and all these castles, and the huge meadows along the Rhines, where we were always walking on the Sundays with my parents into the woods, and nice restaurants outside. And we saw so many castles, and everything was I grew up in the greens, at least, you know. And when we came to Düsseldorf, it was a shock to me. I think I was 10 then, and we were in a loud city where was only traffic and trams in both directions, and I could not just run out with my twin brother to play outside. There was a playground, but was far away from our home. We had with our rollers to go there at first, but it was dangerous outside and loud, you know. And I really must tell you that I hated my father for moving here to Düsseldorf, where I still live now, and could not know that this is the city of my fortune. Yeah. Everything with the girls, with the bands. I was infected with music at 16 when I decided to be like the Beatles drummer, you know, our first bands. With my amateur bands, they were our heroes, and our female English teacher, she taught us to translate the first English singles from them, you know, Love Me Do, or I Want to Hold Your Hand. And so we had to translate what they are singing. And so she brought a radio, a turntable, and we heard music, English music. So that was my start into music because of this English teacher. I'm so thankful for her. So Miss Manson, thank you very much. Life. And yeah, so surrounding is very important. Düsseldorf brought something completely different because it was built up very modern then after the war. So the architects and the city planners did made it very, very modern. It was very destroyed. So we have not much old houses from the old centuries, you know, last centuries or so. The Wilhelminische Zeit is not much here, more in Koblenz and Frankfurt. But Düsseldorf was very damaged, especially from the English troops. And the southern cities were more from the US troops damaged, you know. So they parted Germany, all of them. The French had also something to do with it. And it was a big chance for Düsseldorf to grow up modern with steel, aluminium, glass, and the first skyscrapers we built. It is on my current album. It's the Mannesmann House. It is one of the first. It's from the late 60s. Was it built up then? And that all of that takes, but we have also a very lovely surrounding with woods and green areas around Düsseldorf. So we are not in the Ruhrgebiet, in the industrial area, as some from other fans think, but we not. So even if we made music which is a little bit industrial touched, maybe with the rhythms and the sounds, we made pop music from that. So the combination of technique on the other side and romance on the other side. This was our reception.
Yeah. Did you ever think when you were first getting into music, or did you ever dream of becoming an international electronic or pop musician?
No, when I was young.
About the music.
No, but I always wanted to be music, nothing else. I wanted to drum, only to drum. Since I started with 15 or 16 with my first little drum sets and my amateur bands, which were 3 or 4 of them, it became better and better. But we did not make only music. Only with my last band, the Spirits of Sound. It was shortly before they were broken by Ralph and Florian, who took our Michael Rother, our wonderful guitarist, from us, and I hated them for that. Really. I could not know that they also would grab me And it was not a good entrance for me in the start. I did not really like it. It was just a job for me for money. And it took some time to understand this. First music was not too much in the phase of being experimental phase, you know. And until we recorded Autobahn, it became pop structures with voices, with its sort of singing, you know, half speech singing and talking singing and all the others. Antenna, at least, was the first track which made me really goosebumps on my arms, you know. That was, it has some it had some really fat analog sounds, and anyway, it was the first time I heard I had the chance to listen to a synthesizer. So new it was in the start of the 70s. Nobody knew it. Nobody could afford it. Only Ralph, he had one Minimoog, and it was his decision to buy an instrument instead of a new VW Beetle, because his old one was broken and he had spared 8,000 Mark, Deutschmark, German marks, and it was exactly the same price as a Minimoog. And then he said, and that was one of the wisest words he has said to all of the intelligent journalists afterwards in all of his reports and his invitations. It was not Zoom then, you know, it was always face-to-face in that time. Yeah, that was my best decision to buy a synthesizer, because the Volkswagen would only bring me through Germany and Europe, but the synthesizer brought me through the whole world.
Fantastic.
So
that's a great quote.
So
to spend the money for that.
That's your best buy then.
Yeah, so today he drives maybe a Bentley or so. So that is why he bought a synthesizer first and made much money with it.
Wonderful.
Excellent. And Peter, how about yourself as a young man growing up in Birmingham? How were you immersed in music, and which nightclubs did you sneak into? Speaking as a fellow Brummie, of course.
Yeah, we probably were in the same ones at the same time, I imagine.
He's a big dancer, you know. Peter is a big dancer. He loves clubbing.
Yeah, I was never really a clubber, really. So I mean, I grew up in the kind of, I mean, the 80s were really my formative years. Electronic music really kind of took a hold of me then. I was born in the early 70s, so growing up, you know, with that whole climate of fear and you know, computers appearing, parents worried about what computers were going to do in the future, about jobs, and Thatcher was around, obviously, just, you know, when that kind of the less said about her, the better, obviously. And then you know, and then there was all the worry about nuclear war as well. So all these things kind of conspired to get a really quite bleak, dystopian kind of view of the world for a lot of people. And I think that kind of fear of apocalypse and all that, you know, and the film Threads, I don't know if you remember Threads, but I think that kind of really affected people. But it's just seemed that you know, and synthesizers appeared, and they were kind of just making the sort of noises to me that were the perfect soundtrack for all of this. And electronic music, obviously, Wolfgang's former band, you know, all the electro music that was coming out, a lot of the pop music. I just love that kind of clinical, clean, heavy sound, you know, the 808s. So it kind of had a real hold on me, and I always wanted to write music. Just so as soon as it became available, that kind of technology in the mid 80s with the Atari ST and, you know, really cheap digital multi-timbral synths like the Roland D10, suddenly you could have this like a professional recording environment for not very much money in your house and start writing records. So yeah, that's what I did. And I was in bands as well, but yeah, I got a record deal when I was 17 with a Liverpool label called Ram, who did a guy called Gerald Voodoo Ray.
Oh, I know it well.
Yeah, I just sent a cassette off to them just because they had their address on the front of the record, and I owned the record, and I was bored one day, and so
why not?
I sent a cassette to them, and they phoned me literally 2 days later, and they put me on a train immediately to sign a record deal with them. So yeah, I had a couple of records out back then that now I've found out were pretty big on the underground rave scene. And I certainly didn't know it at the time because I didn't actually go clubbing that much. I was just a kind of student nights in the Dome on a Tuesday night. Maybe that was that was me. But I was never really a massive clubber or dancer. I was always the one lurking in the shadows on the edge of the dance floor, making notes about what drum machine the hi-hats were off and think I was very boring to go to clubs
Sounds
with.
like me, yeah. So did you start digitally, or did you use the old cassette multi-track and the bouncing backwards and forwards and that stuff?
So it was a combination of the two, really. So certainly, we used to have because my brothers were into music as well, and they had a Tascam 4-track Porter Studio, and obviously you had to strike one of the tracks, so that was down to 3 already because you had to sync it to the sequencer. So yeah, definitely used it just to offload some of the sounds onto tape and add vocals. So yeah, I mean that kind of worked, and actually it gave a really nice feel to things. I mean, the problem with a lot of the sequences was that once you started adding more and more stuff, that's when the timing started to go out a little bit. So learned very early on to kind of get the drums down, keep them sequenced, but anything that wasn't so strict about time. God, we're getting nerdy here, aren't we? Sorry.
That's fine.
Anything that wasn't so strict about timing, like vocals, you kind of get them onto tape rather than triggering them from a sampler. So you could just keep the sequencer tight.
Yeah. And Wolfgang, how about you? Do you have any romance for the old ways of recording, for the old tape systems and before MIDI?
No, really not.
Or do you hate it?
It is so complicated against how we do it today, It's so brilliant how we can work now, Peter and I, with our laptops or our computers via the internet. It is so strong currently that we can send there and back really fat files with music or videos or anything, and build in our programs and make some short and very quickly drafts and send back. And how do you think this, or should we make this shorter, or the B part should be more, 2 times in, and it's so quickly done. It's so easy. I cannot imagine how we did it then. I can remember, of course, a 24 track, always to play 4 and back to find the right point where it had to be really to cut it, the tape, really with scissor to cut it, and then the glue on another part. This is a very special work to do that, and arranging a music track was so complicated then. You can have the best ideas to something, but there's really hard work to do that afterwards, and working with MIDI was not out when I left the band in 1986, 86, 89, something about that. Then they had still their big machines, and I met younger musicians had already MIDI in their back room, and they worked with a Commodore computer and Cubase maybe. Yeah. Even if they broke down very often, when they had not saved the program, everything was gone. So really, you really had a finger trip, to save always saving, But thanks God that everything became better and the technique grew. See what I have done with my drum board, the first which I built and invented together with Florian for our show in 1983, and the German culture program Aspekte. It was brand new then, and it was still stinky after Patex glue, and because I glued so plastic around it so that it looked a little bit like a music instrument. But what the industry jumped on that, and what it did out of this first idea, how good they are today, from Yamaha and from Roland or so. Everything develops, and it's helping musicians to do their things easy at home. You don't need a big production studio anymore, with a 7-meter mixing board or so. Sometimes they do, but I was with we did some nice photos with Peter in some years ago in Manchester. There is a big school. It's a big house with many studios where
a beautiful mixing desk.
Japan.
With the mixing desk, you mean, where we're both on the mixing desk?
Yeah. It is minimum 4 or 5 meters long.
Yeah, it's
unbelievably expensive and heavy. So no more necessary. Not for our music, and we can have tracks as much as we want without losing quality. Yeah. Anyway, to make it short, we both have our different instruments. I make my recordings, the vocals and speech, at home on my microphone stand behind me, and I have also a synthesizer here with a good vocoder inside. So that's what I need to make melodies and vocal recordings and a little bit arrangement. But all the other tricky things, the very, very tricky things, come from Peter. He's more the technician and the I don't know the English word for tüftler.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Can you say that?
Genius.
Genius.
Yeah, he is.
Magician.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
What do you
Absolutely.
think? What do you think of artificial intelligence? In where do you think that's going to fit in the music industry?
I don't see anything for me. I think you cannot have that done what I do. I'm a visionary. I'm a storyteller, you know. So when I hear a song or a sound which touches me in a way, I can already hear growing up a story, something what happens there, a plot, and I'm in there like an actor is going on a stage. If someone gives me a stage, what I say, a soundtrack, I can see the temperature inside, I can see the light inside, and the dramatic or not dramatic. So what could I tell to the people with that? What touches me, what I'm giving back. So this is happening there. And so we are going, you know. I mean, I have many stories and many songs and tracks being sent by Juan Atkins. I fell in love with the bass, like just one example. An old track from him is called Track 10. Track 10 had a bass line. It was so unbelievable, and I heard that. I said, wow, I want this bass line separate. It inspired me to a song which is on our next album and one on the actual album, you know. So he sent us 2 because he could not give it me just out of that old recording, because he recorded then with a very brand new ADAT system, the ADAT system, remember?
Yeah.
It was a cartridge, I think, in VHS VHS cassette inside an 8-track.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it did not work anymore, so he had made us the offer to record it completely new. How nice it was, huh?
Yeah.
He made also some variations, and we could choose. So we had the ideas from such a little thing, just a little bass line. What comes out of it, a whole new song. So some others as well, like a Billionaire, which on the current album, and so on.
So I think, yeah, that just highlights that this is where AI, I mean, I personally just think, if anything, it will make true art generated by humans even more valuable and more sought after, because ultimately you can't create that soul with AI. There's no such thing as AI art for me. I mean, the situation Wolfgang just retold, for example, I mean, if none of that happened and we just generated this baseline through an AI tool called AI baseline generator, it wouldn't be the same. You wouldn't feel it. You wouldn't feel all that history and nostalgia that Wolf felt when he heard that baseline, and then all the little micro interactions. That's what makes art and music, and it gives it a soul, you know.
Yes, it has to do with talents. Talents are given from God, and you must have them, or you are not talented. So not everyone has that. No? It's some very special given thing, to artists I know more or less, and some are outstanding, like Ralph and Carl. They were so creative, and I could not think that any other one could do that. Nothing, these melodies and these creations. When I was only their drummer, I learned from them, and I started many years later with my own constructions and arrangements and ideas. With the 97 album Time Pipe, which was not released in England, a shame on EMI then, because they promised me that. So that was actually my start to find my own talents, which I did not know all these years what is inside me. I first had to leave Kraftwerk to go on my own, and rebuild a completely new Wolfgang.
And how liberating was that once you left Kraftwerk of being the drummer with all this? You must have had all this music inside you.
Yes, of course.
Gradually discovered, and then you could present it in your own way, and it must have been an amazing liberation.
Yes, of course it is. It was, and anyway, I made a contract then with me, I and myself, that I never will drum again for anyone. So I'm no more a drummer. Now I create my own music, and suddenly I had a record, a CD in my hand from EMI, where songs Wolfgang, music Wolfgang, lyrics Wolfgang FLUR. That was such a relief for me. It was suddenly I became much more proud than ever before, And I was a typical drummer with all these complexes they have, because they are not creative. I was always announced as the electronic percussionist. That was too less to me. The older I became, it was too less for me, only to be an electronic rhythm giver to them, And they were always, all three of them were always the copyright holders and made more and more money. And I had only my fee, my honorar. And I had to do something. When I left them, it was also the reason of money. There were no recordings, no tours anymore since years. They needed years because they had another hobby suddenly with Fahrradfahren, with driving bicycles, I think if you have read my book, you know all these stories. And I became depressions arise to me. How I was nearly 40 or 41 already. How can I pay my money in the next years? How could my life look like? What should I do? And I also had big problems with my then girlfriend. She said, make something to make money, bring money home. And I said, not in that way. Don't talk to me in that way. I make music. And then she left me.
Oh.
Because I was too insecure to her. But I said, I'm a musician in all my heart. So I want to do it. Then I make everything and only on myself. No? Okay? So if problems arise, they are only my problems. And I don't want that anyone else has problems, because it's my decision to be a musician. If problems come out of that, it's only my problems. So the responsibilities were only on mine. So it was a good decision, because I became better and better and had my freedom for making only music. Many years, until I found the real wife. She came on. She rented the flat under mine, where I'm sitting now. She's Turkish, and she loved my music, and she was the best decision since 25 years now.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, but the good thing is that I had some years for finding and developing myself, only pointing on me and concentrating on me. And I know how good that was for me, this period. And I was no more depressed when I had the record out with EMI. I know I can do it. I wanted to make another album. But then they were going down all this time when record companies went down or were bought by another one or this one. And we split, and I had no record deal anymore. And then, but I worked and worked and worked with different partners then, always on new tracks, until I had a cupboard full of tracks, you know, until Cherry Red Records in 2015 gave me another chance for the Eloquence album. That was my step into England again. And I don't do anything anymore in Germany.
No.
England is the pop country land for me.
I think anyone that's been to one of your concerts can see how you immerse yourself into the music and how grateful you are to be doing what you do. And I think that passes on to the audience. You can almost sense all of that pent-up enthusiasm that you've had over the years and being released from being a drummer, that freedom.
Yeah, that's the freedom, and I see it everywhere where I go. And also my stage appearance were not like that it is today. I started very small with a small list of tracks. It was not all my music, but I had to have something. And I started in Berlin in a small club 104 was the name. And a DJ who I'm most friendly with, a very good one, an Italian one, said, "Wolfgang, come on, I give you 1,500 euro. You must not be good. I show you how to do it." And I said, "But I'm not a DJ. That's an art on itself, you know. It's something very special. I'm not trained." "Oh, that's easy," he said. "That's easy. I tell you. We make it very easy for you." And I played with two CD players. And had some tracks on, some of mine and some of others and some of his. The people want only you. This is important. You must be on the stage. They love you, Wolfgang. I pay you for you. And the music was anyway good enough. Then it was better and better. And then I started with videos. I said, we must have projections. That's too simple to go anywhere and make a little bit woo 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 and scratching or so. That was not my thing. I said, I want to deliver something like going to the movies and I play some music to it. And that was a big effort. Then my wife had the first time a video camera in the hand, and she always travels with me. So became really a good filmer, and we bought all 2 or 3 years a better camera until it is 4K camera today, and became smaller and not by these heavy things which she had to carry then. Before 10 years or so. And we always cut some little scenes for our back projections from any interesting happenings which we had on tours, you know, and in the shows. And this is one of the first things we brought, and we produced our own videos from whole tracks as well. And I have a nice guy who is making my graphic designer. It's Marcus, who made the album, and he also makes videos for me. And I have a very nice and a very good Berlin video artist who also makes videos for me. So in all these years, I met so many interesting artists and people who I'm working with now. So I cannot stay at home. Nothing would happen then, you know. I must meet people everywhere. And like you, we played together. You can remember in London at London Beat Festival, or what was it called?
Electro London.
Not London, Electro London.
Electro London. Yeah.
So being much outside and on the stage, and I see always the better we become, especially together with Peter, our audience, they love us really. So his music is his part is always 30 minutes, and I always say he's more the intellectual guy. It's more political, and it's more I would not say depressing, but it's really touching, absolutely touching. Yes, some people are crying when they hear the music, you know. And then comes the contrast. Yeah, I make the contrast. Then I make fun. And I'm the clown on the stage, you know.
Yeah, I mean, my stuff's a little bit darker and a bit more dystopic. Talking about, you know, when I was growing up and my original influences and where I came from, you know, with machines and computers, and you know that all filters through into what I do today as well.
Shall we talk about Magazine 1?
Yes.
Right. Are you okay to talk us through track by track, just a very brief story about the song or how it came about, and then we.
By the way, have you had our magazine print paper? The
Yes,
magazine.
we have. It's very beautiful. Yeah, we read it like a magazine. Yeah.
It is important because we also do it for the next album. The next album is, by the way, is not called Magazine 2. We have special reasons to call it Times.
Mm-hmm.
The next album is called Times. Contains also 10 tracks, meanwhile, but we also want to print a print magazine or a pictorial magazine.
I think
However,
it's lovely. It's lovely to read it while you're listening to the album. Yeah. So the first track on the album is called Magazine, and it's with a friend of yours, Ramon.
Mm-hmm.
He gave you the initial concept or idea for the.
I asked him. I wanted. I talked to Peter. We must have a track which has also the music of Magazine 1. So the idea of Magazine as a title of an album came also from Marcus, my graphic designer. So I said that's a good idea because every track is a different theme. So you can read through the album like through a print paper. Every page has something different, like sex, like sports, like cars, like literature, like politics, female, men, and the gay theme, and everything, clothes, fashion. So it is so absolutely different, and sometimes in sounds, because we use, as said, our collaborators inside, and Peter and I put our things together. But that was Marcus' idea. Then call it Magazine. It's a sonic magazine. And then I said to Peter, we must have a song which is called Magazine. So, okay, if Ralph and Florian made an album which is called Autobahn, there must be a track on which is also Autobahn. It sounds like Autobahn with the cars and so. Then we make a magazine track, and we started with some ideas. I wrote lyrics, like mostly, and I can't remember how I came on asking Ramon Amezcua, my friend from Mexico, actually from Tijuana, where he lives. He's a doctor. He's a dental doctor of teeth, at least a very famous one there. All the American stars come to him, and that made him rich, But at least he said he's like me. He said, I only want to make music, and he stopped to stop his dentist thing. If he has a good background, something for me, we want to do something on printing, on magazines, And he said immediately, I have something. I can't understand what you mean. And then he sent us a background sound, which is on. And we built everything up on that, which is running in the background. And the Mannesmann tape writer was a very interesting thing. I thought I must have some technical thing, which is a printing machine or some technical sound, And I like to do that, to go into the internet, and I searched days for two or 3 days for an interesting sound, until I find a machine which makes this. I said, what is that? Because the following happened. In the background, the music was already, and the draft was already running. And I heard this little thing in 2 tones, and I said they were absolutely in the same tonality. I had nothing to do. I recorded them straight from the speaker. I put my studio microphone on the speaker and recorded it just like it came from the YouTube, So I have no program to record. I would not do that. There are rights on, But this is just the sound, of from a I think it was a tailored writer or something like that. And it fitted so well at the moment. And we put it on different places there. That these are the best days when something happens. So, and which you have not, could you not foresee in the morning, And yeah, something like that. And the track became better and better, and sometimes it's my favorite on that, besides of some others, but it changes from day to day. Sometimes then it's the Billionaire, then it's Magazine.
And that's one of the great things about the album, though, isn't it? When you listen to it, the more you listen to it, you pick up something else from the track as well. So your perception of the track can change depending on what mood you're in as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. You can do the next one. Good.
Oh, thank you. How do you pronounce track 2?
It's not so good for English people or Scottish people.
Yeah.
Well, let me say to the record, I must see what is on.
Zukunftsmusik.
Zukunftsmusik.
Yeah.
How
I
do you
have
say
it
that?
here, you know.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Yeah, it is future music. Zukunft. That's German. Future is Zukunft.
Zukunft.
Yeah, you must spell the set in a hard way, like Zukunft. You don't have that in English, a hard set.
That's difficult.
Zukunft Musik. Music is clear. Yeah, I did it with 2 guys. That was 3 of the tracks on the album. I did not with Peter, they were already done shortly before. With some other guys, 2 friends of mine from Hamburg. This is the today's duo of U96. And Hayo is my best friend from Hamburg. And we have met pretty early, 15 years ago minimum. And he always wanted to do something with me for his album, for them. And that was the plan then, that we do different versions. And we said, okay, you can have that. We do together something, and you do your version, and you send me the stems, all the parts of the track, and I make something different. I change them for my release. So they have also something on their album, and there is also another one on, like Best Buy, and on the next album we have also others, 2 or 3 others, which I have done already with them. So that happened also in the same way, that I get something from them and I say, that's interesting, you know, but don't be ashamed when you hear what I make out of them. And then sometimes afterwards they say, oh, we didn't await that. So yes, you must not like it, but I like it. Yeah, no, we like it, of course, but we can have it. Yeah, you can have it. But I go on working on that. That is a different version, is on my album.
Okay.
That's how we work.
The next track is Best Buy, which is an interesting conversation dialogue going on.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I had in my drawers many lyrics I wrote already in 93, 97. So Best Buy is a very, very old idea, with all these brands to tell, like in a very short, in very rush, in very quickly way to talk about them, you know, like rhythmic speaking. And I think the idea comes with a friend of mine, Paul Wilkinson, together, an English guy from Blackpool, who is a friend of us, and he does always the merch table in our shows. And we wrote together all these, or we collected all these brands, because he was the manager of a big food store then, you know, so he knew all these brands, and wrote me all of them, that we make some lyrics from them. And yeah, it's a funny thing, our consummation about all of us today, that we mostly buy too much what we don't need, because at the moment the manager of the shops had some good offers, you know, but we don't need them really. But they were so cheap, you know. It's a good offer. So that's a funny thing, huh?
It's true, yeah, it's true. Okay, we'll just break away from the album for a little bit, because one of the questions we wanted to ask you was, I mean, you've travelled around the world a lot. You've travelled and played in a lot of countries. How different is the reception you get from each country? How differently do they treat you in each country? Are there any countries that stand out? that just don't get your music or that really love it? I know you've got this love affair with England.
It is pretty alike, huh? Peter, what do you think? We have already played together also in different countries, in Oslo and in Barcelona and in Netherlands. So I think there is no difference, huh?
Yeah, it always feels the same, really. I mean, the reception.
Really good about it.
Yeah, it's great. I think we played in Spain, Holland, Norway, Slovenia. We've played in lots of places, and you couldn't
Aberdeen.
And much in England.
Aberdeen, yeah.
Aberdeen.
Came to see you in Aberdeen, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
right.
mostly like it. Next month we are again in England for 2 shows.
Yeah, Birmingham and London, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do see a difference around the UK, within the UK a little bit. I know when we played in Newcastle, that was particularly crazy.
In what way?
Well, just, I don't know, there was just such a great atmosphere there, and I don't know, you can sometimes feel a certain energy. I mean, it's always great, but yeah, I do, that one always comes to the
But
forefront.
I do remember you on Pootsy at the Old Woolen. That was the most incredible thing.
Yeah, that was another great one as well, yeah. So many great shows. I mean, it's always a real thrill to play anywhere, but you know, we've had some very good times on the road.
Okay. Right, we'll drop back to the album. Das Beat. I've learned something from the album, Wolfgang, on this track.
Yeah.
Because we were listening to the album again last night, and I realised, I don't know how my Apple system works. When I load music in, it sometimes renames tracks. So I've played Das Beat on my own radio show a number of times, but it's always the Midjour one. Because I found out, we played it last night, and the beginning of the track has got Midge on it. And I normally think, I've already got that, and then I just play it. I didn't realise actually that this was your track after that. So we played last night, and we were like, wow, this is totally different. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
So I mustn't take things on face value. I must listen to the whole thing, because I didn't realise until we had the album for about a year, and I didn't realise until last night that this was a totally different track to. Yeah. But
it was a good one, that, wasn't it, to work on? It was a quick one, wasn't it, Wolfgang? That one, we did that one very quickly.
Yeah, because he made it easy to us. When we decided to do an album together, Mitch and I, it was in Düsseldorf. He played 2 concerts in between 2 or 3 years. He was 2 times here, and we were both concerts. We were in his backstage, repeating and some drinking and laughing. He's such a warm and nice guy, you know. It's like a brother. We were immediately friendly, the same as I and Peter was after an hour car drive, you know. So you notice immediately if the chemicals are the same with someone and who is on the same level, you know. And it was so easy working with him when we decided to do something together. He said, if you have an idea, go ahead. And he said, I have already an idea. And two weeks later, he came up sending me a draft of a track where he had his singing part already in. And he sent me the written lyrics. And then I said, okay, we make a duo. I write my own lyrics, and then I sing also my strophes, and we let them change always here and there. You and me and me and you and you and me. And Peter made very good rhythms to them and some very good harmonies and background music, like he is always doing. That's his best talent. However, especially his arpeggios, and that's why he is the arpeggio king to me. And that makes the music very, very curly and really very, the German words, curly, yeah, also movable, and my wife loves that, Peter's arpeggios always. Yeah, that's how it came together in some days only.
Are you embarrassed, Peter?
No, I like I like the term arpeggio king. Yeah, I might No, I do like arpeggios, and we are, that's sort of, it's where the machine kind of, you can just come up with such interesting rhythms that you don't foresee when you start playing with arpeggios. Not in the typical sense. Sometimes, playing arpeggios the way you're not meant to play them, I find can be very inspiring. So yeah.
Yeah. When you make an error, a mistake.
Especially when you change the tonality from them,
Yeah.
And it makes then it can make its own thing and interesting.
Yeah.
So, Birmingham, we've touched briefly on. Peter, who's your favourite Brummie?
My favourite Brummie? Oh, there's a good question. I've never been asked that before.
Your mother would be there.
Yeah, I mean, after my mom, of course. Yeah, I mean, I've got lots of favourite Brummies. I spend a lot of time in Birmingham. I'm there every week, pretty much at the moment, for a couple of days. But yeah, obviously, the place you grow up in ends up having, meaning a hell of a lot to you. And I like your T-shirt, by the way, Jolly. I did spot that. On the 8th day God created Birmingham. It's an interesting place, and part of the reason that the song came about, and me and Wolfgang first worked on that, and I had originally written a demo called Birmingham. I mean, it just seems such an odd thing to write a song about, because Birmingham's kind of like derided by most people as just somewhere you drive past very quickly on your way to somewhere.
Is it an odd thing for you? Because we come from Birmingham. Is that why it's an odd thing?
Not really. I mean, it's very difficult when you grow up somewhere to see objectively how people look in on you, I guess, because you don't have that vision. You've grown up within it, and you just hear comments on the media and in the news and in magazines and newspapers that are always, they're not exactly complimentary, are they? So no. I always found that quite interesting, because where you grow up it's a big adventure playground, isn't it? Because you're growing up there, and there were so many great things that came from Birmingham, so many fond memories. And I liked the idea of calling a song that, just because it seemed so banal. It's like, why would you write a song about Birmingham? It's not, it's so that was always just interesting to me, really.
Yeah. And Wolfgang, you fell in love with Birmingham.
Yeah, crazy is some people asked me, also fans on Facebook, why did you write a song on Birmingham? London is much more important. I said, it's my thing. Yeah, hello. Yeah. May I decide? I like London also, but it's a moloch. It's a too big city. So many people have written songs about London. Nothing against London, but I like other cities where I have more personal meetings, with Peter and his family. We played pretty often there in different clubs, and I was always welcome. And I like all these little channels with these very, very narrow boats on them. My wife liked it also when we played the Flapper.
Yeah.
The Flapper. Is it still open?
Yeah.
Yeah, they tried to. It was. I think a developer was trying to get houses built on it to get it demolished, and they fought the council, and the council gave in. So it's still there.
It's preserved it now.
It's preserved. Yeah. They've got a preservation order on it now, Peter, or something.
I heard something like that. Yeah, and that's good news.
It's brilliant news. Yeah,
it's a great place as well.
Yeah. I played there 2 times before I met Peter, and I played together with Rusty Egan. He made my support. And we had a hotel nearby, and such a very, I would say, a street where all these clubs and bars are. I don't know. It's a big street.
Broad Street, yeah.
How's it called?
Broad Street.
Broad Street, yeah. And we went by feet always to the sound check, and in the afternoon, and the next day back. And we had always these nice walks on these channels over the bridges, and it's a nice area for us. So my wife and I, we liked it much, and so why not making, and because Peter comes from there, it was also an homage on my friend, to work with them on his on this sound, on this track.
Well, it's lovely to have a song about our home city, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
At last, someone's shouting
could
about
also maybe once we make a song on Frankfurt, you know.
it.
I don't know, it's my birthday, but I don't know.
Why not? Great.
Must not be. So everyone wants a birthtown song, you know.
Absolutely.
Are you both from Birmingham? Bridget, you also from Birmingham?
No, well, I was actually born in Nottingham, but
Nottingham. So we make a song on Nottingham.
Well,
it
you could.
be nice.
I lived in Aberdeenshire most of my life, and I moved down to. We're in Worcestershire now.
Yeah.
Moved here 2 years ago.
We're about half an hour from Peter in Birmingham, I think now.
Yeah.
Very beautiful part of the country.
Yeah.
Well, the door's always open.
Yeah.
Well, we're actually Ulster, which is in Warwickshire, but we live in Worcestershire because we're right on the border.
Yeah.
And there's part, if you go down the street, there's a part where you're in Worcestershire, and then 10 yards after you're in Warwickshire. So it's in the middle. But
Worcestershire is this famous city or town where this world famous sauce comes here. The Worcestershire sauce.
What's the sauce?
Yeah,
Worcestershire sauce. Yeah.
We know that in Germany. We love it on special. You know?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like what you were saying about Hebden Bridge, though. So every day we wake up and think, "Oh, we live here," and it's
so
just so beautiful. And it's, yeah.
Lovely. I know. I would definitely.
That is the home feeling. You know, you can live anywhere, even if it is a dirty place. When you grew up and you are outside far away and you come back from afar, you have that home feeling. It's always the most beloved spot on the earth, I think, where you felt love, where you got your food and you learned you played with children and you went to school the first time maybe, and the complete surrounding, everything gives you that feeling of this is my home and it is the best in the world.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Just making a track on that. I
was going to say, Wolfgang, that sounds like a good subject for a song.
It is, yes. We are doing it.
You heard it here first.
Next album, not on time. We are always in the future are working on the third album.
Okay,
Wonderful.
Back to the album then. The next track is Night Drive. Tell us about that.
What's the most complicated one? So Peter must explain how that idea came up from a friend of him. Tell me.
Yeah, so there's a guy called Max Wheeler who's also a musician who strangely is from Hebden Bridge, purely coincidentally actually, which is strange. He lives in Brighton now, but I know him through a good friend of mine. But yeah, he was really keen to kind of get involved somehow. So me and him just started throwing a few ideas at each other in the very early days, not thinking about anything. And then something cropped up and I thought, I must play this to Wolfgang and see what he thinks about it, because this is going in quite an interesting direction. And then at first, Wolfgang, nothing was happening with it. It was just simmering in the background. Wolfgang wasn't really getting inspired by it. And then something happened where suddenly, I think Victoria got involved with some vocals, maybe, Wolf, and then it just picked up a whole life of its own. So we started working on it. And this was years ago, like very early days of working on the record, I think. And it's just one of those that just kept going on and on in the background. We worked on it now and then, and we never quite got it finished. And we then took it in a different direction, and we added bits and took them off. And it was like making a sculpture almost, just chopping things off and reshaping things. And but
Good explanation.
Yeah. It took a long time to get over the finish line, but we knew once we finally got there. So in contrast to Das Beat, which happened very quickly and it all just flowed. I wouldn't say it was difficult. It was just it just needed more and more attention. It just needed more and more work and thought, and there's a few different movements in there, and the way the track changes and flows, and the whole end section. Yeah, it just came together slowly. We didn't force it. We just let it, grow
organically. Yeah,
organically.
When you're writing a song and you can feel there's a thread in there, but
Yeah.
you don't quite know what it is, and it takes how long do you think you were working on this?
It probably over the course of 3 years, maybe that one, Wolf, maybe three, probably, you know, not
until the last, I can't remember exactly, until the last thing. Then we said, okay, we had also some fights about it in between, how the song structure should come up, you know. And there was a point when I said to Peter, we have now a description of a drive, a train drive. Okay, that was the story which I wrote. At least I was so happy with the voice of Victoria. She kept me working on the song, only her voice, because she's so lovely. And the story she told, these little words, it was not much about driving at night. She could not imagine that it was at 4 o'clock in the night with the musicians, with the band driving to anywhere. And I thought, okay, I also can tell a story when we drove to Paris with the train, and it was not at 4 o'clock, not at 4 a.m., but anyway, interesting enough to tell. So the Olympic Theater was waiting for us with these plushy seats and in purple, red, and anyway, it grew and it grew and had some spooky sounds. So the first sound which I created, Peter was not so much amused about it as said, it's a little bit spooky, like a ghost was running. So it was exactly the feeling. I felt it so ghostly inside, so spooky, something in the midnight at 4 a.m., you know. And that kept me very long not doing much more than this. And suddenly, sometimes artists need an inspiration which comes sometimes under the shower or during peeing, or you're going on the walk or outside with your wife. And sometimes I have a melody in my head, and I immediately take my phone and record it as a recording app, and you know that I don't forget it. And when we are anywhere, or a rhyme or some lyrics, that I don't forget it. And also it happens in the night. I awake with something, I have a dream. I have a dream of anything, and I cannot go on sleeping until I have recorded it. And even if it's 4 o'clock a.m. or 5 or 2, and then I'm fine. I have recorded and spared it until the morning, and then I can, with all the freedom, go to sleep again, you know. But that happens sometimes. That happened exactly sometimes on the street, under the shower, and in the night, that I collected some parts which are in the song, and I recorded them on the next day, if it was lyrics or melodies, and or singing, some singing. And then I spoke to Peter, we must do something. That's another idea came up, like in Autobahn by Kraftwerk, when the car suddenly have these pretty long part when they are overtaking the big lorries and the racing cars. The sounds of the greens outside the forests which are running by. The cars. So we must do something similar with the train, that we have something which is like in France, Europe express. So the track and the sounds which are outside. So I ordered Peter to give Max, I think Max and Peter, they did that part. Had nothing to do with me, but they used also some cutted word parts of my other lyrics inside, you know, with a special T-E-E, T-T-T-T-T-T-E-E, and anything like that. They played a little bit around with that, and brutal good sounds. I like that immediately, that we have a B part, and it's pretty long, and that makes it very interesting that we are at least on a journey, and the landscape changes. We are driving through cities to small towns and spots, and then the nature comes and some animals outside. We are crossing bridges, we are going through tunnels, and anything, if you really lean back, close your eyes, you hear everything. Everything happens in that, you know. And that's the travel which leads us at least to the Olympic Theatre with the TEE.
And that's why it couldn't be rushed.
Which no more exists, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, I think that's another good thing that comes out of how a lot of people have said on the songs that the thing that they like about it the most is there's so many layers, you know, and they keep hearing new things months after they first listen to the song. And I think that song in particular, because its gestation period was so long, you know, that's one of the songs where you will hear things maybe that you've not heard. And and I like that. I like, you know, I think we both like that, Wolfgang, that people say that, you know, there's a lot of work that went into those songs, and
I think it was the most work on this track anyway. Not only the time, how long it lasts, but we really worked hard on that. And I must explain you. People sometimes think, they are musicians, they make pop music, okay. Pop music making, the kind we do, is really much work. Nobody can believe. The good thing was for us in that moment, in that period, that we had COVID and we could not travel. We could not make any concert, not any show. And we had many shows in these 2 years or nearly 3 years, which were cancelled or postponed. Some of them were afterwards completely cancelled. Some of the agents or the promoters went bankruptcy, and they had no money anymore. They had nothing to live with. So we were happy that we were in our studios and could close the door and work.
And imagine we were traveling through a song instead.
Yeah, of course.
Use the internet for traveling, yeah.
And then we thought, then we have the tracks for later, and we make dance music from them. Some of them are reproduced to make them faster. Some of my tracks are in my program, and I do them together with a friend of mine in Switzerland. Meriton Aidini is a Swiss guy. He is the best dance mixer who I know. And he is mostly the offer from me. And he is, meanwhile, I must say that, or I may say that, pretty expensive because he's really good, you know. But, you know, I can afford him. He's very important. And he makes so good dance tracks from my pop music tracks, which is on the album. And the people who come to my show, they immediately can acknowledge which song it is, and we make them with the Berlin guy or with Marcus the fitting videos to them. So that makes the whole thing very attractive at this point we are at the moment, you know, for life. So we have Electric Sheep.
Yes, we go from trains to electric sheep. I love this track, I have to say. It's
this is just one part. Yeah, with the trains that are passing a meadow with electric sheeps on, you know, you can see that.
Of course. It's such a fun track.
It's the most crazy title, isn't it?
It's made for radio though, isn't it? It's beautiful.
We didn't think on for whom it is. I just make it for joy. I'm sitting at home, and I think Peter too, and we are not thinking about any address for whom we make a song for radio, for people, or classical, or theaters, or so, or live. No, just for the song itself and for our daily joy, you know. And it came up an idea. How was that? There is also a little bit collaboration from another very famous DJ, Carl Cox. Carl Cox is a big man, a very big man, and I mean, so you know, pretty big. And I have never met him personally, but his manager had an idea. He wanted to engage me and Peter to play at the Printworks in London, together with Rusty Egan and
William Orbit, I think, was it?
Yeah, William Orbit. But that was also 2 months before the Corona switched everything off, so that was also cancelled. But he said, do you know how much Carl is a big fan of your music? I said, is that really so? Yeah, of course. He said, everyone is, you know. Maybe he asked, so Carl asked if we could do something together. I said, why not? Send me something. And he recorded something. Also nothing what was already in his drive or on his records or in his live shows. He especially sent us something. He made a video also with a headphone or with a little iPhone, put it on the side, and we could see or we could watch him playing music for us. And that was an interesting part we could use in our track. And it was the idea of the manager who asked me just for fun in the end of his last interview and his last email then, maybe Wolfgang, may I ask in the end, do robots dream of electric sheep? Interesting. That I don't understand, but I know now that it is a book, it's literature, you know. Anyway, I didn't know it, but Marcus told me that, and so electric sheep is anyway an interesting word for me. So we make that song, Electric Sheep. Robots do dream of electric sheep, of course they do. Why not? Do we know the souls of robots? They dream of anything. Why not also of electric sheep? They can be electric sheep, and that's why we show videos behind where you really can see electric sheep. Come to my show. I promise you, we show them.
Love it.
We love that track. It's just utter fun. Yeah. And then from that we go into Billionaire. We think we've worked out who it is.
Oh, come on. Really?
There are clues, yeah.
I thought we make it very difficult.
I mean, it was subtle.
It was subtle, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was living with my wife straight near the Golden Skyscraper in London, in a smaller hotel, not exactly in the Golden Skyscraper of Trump Tower, but near to it. So hated that big fat thing, you know. And anyway, we had not done that idea. This was some years ago when we were in New York for some shows without Peter. We did not know then. It was in, I think, in 2014. We had an invitation to the yearly, what is that called? The festival. They have a big festival in New York running then. Everything is free for every people from all genres, about opera, pop, and dance music, and folk music, and electronic music. I was invited with Ramon Ahmed-Spua, with his band, Nordtech Collective. They have an interesting project they're running, and they are very famous in America and the most famous band in Mexico. And the Nordtech Collective, they play the classical orchestra with a big trombone and harmonium. You know harmonium?
Yeah.
Guitar and trumpet, and the two synthesizers. So that's a very interesting mixture, these instruments. And we made a song on their last album, a Moda Machina. It's a gimmick on fashion. It's fashion machine. Moda Machina as something about girls or models who cannot stop modeling, even if they are old. You know, they want always to be beautiful and sexy, and they are not. We have many of them running here in Düsseldorf on the King's Alley, because we are the fashion city here, you know, with the Edo Fashion Fair, and we have 70 years old girls which were in the 70s, beautiful, and they cannot stop modeling and going there, and sometimes they are really looking awful. I can really but anyway, it is a gimmick on those, and it fits very well this story. And we were invited, so I mean, they played anyway with their band, and I was invited only for this one song. I was talking and singing with them, and they invited me on this. It's one of their one of the presidents of the past festival. Anyway, we had a big show there, and afterwards I played in the Atrium. It's also a big and interesting location in the center of Düsseldorf, where I played of New York, where I played my Musiksoldat show. And then we flew to Chicago and played there in a nice club. But that was very short before I met Peter. Otherwise, we could have taken him because they paid everything, the New Yorkers. Yeah. So they paid good, and they paid good flights and good hotels. And it was not already the idea of making the song on the later president. When we were there, my wife and I, it was still Barack Obama, and a lovelier time in America, you know. But the billionaire came up, with this brutal things, with this idea, with this inspiration on the Carl Cox melodies and music. He sent us a little piece.
Juan Atkins, not Carl Cox, that one. Remember, Wolf?
Juan Atkins, yeah. Right, sorry. My fault. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I always wanted to be an actor when I was young, and I think it was a role I played in this track. It was really, I went on stage and I played this nasty type of man. I hate such fat and rich guys who think they can buy everything for money, you know. And it lay on our hand who it was then in that time, which we wanted to have away from the world scene. And fortunately it is now. Anyway, it was much fun to record these parts, I believe. It was much fun being such a guy, you know.
Yeah, you were cleansing your soul. You were getting it all out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, purging your soul.
I think when musicians are always also a bit actor, everyone who goes on stage, even Peter and I and others I know, they are also actors because they behave completely different. When they go on stage, everyone plays a role then, you know. It depends on the lyrics, if it's a singer or so, on the whole behavior and the movement and so. And privately, when it's back in the background or in the back rooms, the artist rooms, or maybe later back at home, you are no normal person. Mostly of them I know. I go into the kitchen and cook for my wife, you know. I'm a cook in the end. It's another hobby for me. So on the stage, I'm Musiksoldat. I present my tracks on my way. I move very much. So I move my music. So it touches me. So I cannot stand still, you know. So I'm the dancer, not Peter.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he said that as well. So from Billionaire, we take a totally different approach for the last track on the album, which brings out the pacifist of you. This is Say No. It's quite a powerful track.
That was a big fortune that also Peter had another friend. Peter's name, who was it?
James Chapman from Maps.
Yeah,
Maps. Yeah.
He sent a pretty sad track, which immediately gave me the inspiration for something which I had in my mind very long, because I'm a big fan of the German poem Wolfgang Borchert. So I don't have only the first name in common with him, but we are both humanists and pacifists, and he died in the same year as I was born, so very, very sad. He was only 28, but war brought him very, very bad things to his life, and a big illness, a lung illness, which was also the reason for his death. At least these hard stories about the young man had only experiences through war and through being a soldier had to be. So he had no chance with the Nazis, you know. You must go to fight. And he was wounded and often in hospital. And the books are very famous and translated in all world languages meanwhile. And I make book readings from them in Germany, in churches, in schools and other locations. And I do it very well. I do it so well that sometimes people come, especially most women come to me and nearly are near crying and said, "You are so, you tell the stories and the chapters in such a strong and such an intense way that my tears came." Because the contents of these stories they are very, very hard and touchable, and it's a special. He uses a special way for writing very short sentences, and that's the good thing. And I said to Peter, I must have something about that to give to younger people, with being going not to the war. It's a bit maybe Messias-like, but if you think so, it doesn't matter. For me, it's important. And I had the lyrics, is very, very long lyrics. I had to spare them and write only some of the most important parts of this chapter. There is nothing more to say than say no. So say no is not the original, but it was short, but it's always the result of there is nothing more to say. This is the original title in English. Da gibt es nichts anderes zu sagen in German. And that's why I translated all of them. We needed to be translated. And with this wonderful background music of James and Peter's best arrangement he ever did so far. So far, I say. I think it grew up, so there was nothing much to change for me. Instead of just recording the spoken lyrics, inviting a former girlfriend of mine who sang a little bit in the backgrounds to repeat some of the words of, when she comes in, it's a little bit from the fee from afar, and the main melody, which was a little bit problem in the beginning because I thought it is too kitschy. When it starts, and I sent it to Peter and said, "Peter, it's too kitschy, huh? What do you think?" And Peter, what did you think at that moment? Be honest.
At the time, I didn't think it worked. But I think one thing you learn through this process of working, of us working together, and I think the reason, I'm not a yes man. I don't just say yes to everything, and neither does Wolfgang, because you don't create interesting art that way, do you? You've got to challenge each other. So, but I've learned to appreciate that these melodies came from deep within Wolfgang and his vision for the song, and he was touched in such a way that he produced this melody. So you roll with it, and I think that's an important lesson to learn. Electronic music can be quite a solitary art form, really, and you can kind of get a bit precious about things, and and I think that's where you learn quite a lot in evolving, and now brilliant, and the other melody as well probably my favorite melody on the whole record is the one that you wrote first for that song, Wolfgang, the chorus melody. And then we built that up and used mellotrons and a couple of other sounds, and the first time I heard that from Wolfgang, I was literally there were shivers down the back of my neck, because it was just, this is just so beautiful, and it really, really moved me. And when we put it in the song, it was almost, I couldn't control the mouse or anything, because it was like my hands were like trembling. Those moments are really special, and I think that song has a lot of those moments in it. And but now I love the melody at the start, Wolfgang. I love it.
Yeah, you got used to it. So
yeah.
The crazy thing is that I myself have problems with this. It's too romantic, Wolfgang. Too romantic. It's too beautiful. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought it could not be better if you have decided to say no. You have to be accompanied by this melody, because it is fun, it is joy, learning to say no. It could not be, there must not be a bad or a horrible or a sad melody accompanying to someone who fights with himself, because younger people say too often yes to anything which is bad for them. So saying no is a very important thing in my own life, to learn, not doing too much things which are against me, my nature and my will, my own will, you know. So I think I learned, also my wife and others I know, I always teach people and say, learn to say no. And especially when it comes to war and military, they are called, they offer you money, they offer you a pretty life and anything, a car license. And my brothers did all of that. And I denied. I said, no, I don't want. And I was only 18 when I was called after my school years. And I was in fight also with my father, who wanted that I go to the military because he had to. So he lived in the Nazi time. This poor man had to go. So he was kind of a co-pilot in planes and was 2 times shot up. And fortunately, with his umbrella, he was not wounded. And he had the chance that he was captured not by the Russians, but the US troops, and they handled him well. Why? Well, because he could cook well. So they asked anyone in the soldier camp what they can do, what they can need from them. Who can cook? My father said, yes, come into the tent, in the cook tent. And he cooked for his life, and they loved him. So how good that is when you have different talents, you know, in the life. But he could not say no going to war. I could, but my father didn't like that. Have you always your own things and your own thoughts? Can you not do something like your brothers, Wolfgang? I was always compared with my mother, with my brothers. So they were all, you know, mellow going alongside with my father's ideas and his wills. And I was a problematic boy. That's what he didn't like in me. But I was proud to say no. And I said, I go, and it was a law case in Germany. I had to prove them in a military law case.
Court,
in a court, yeah. And it was not easy to get that through. I was the only on that day of 5 aspirants, or 5 young men. The others had all to go there. And I said to the judge, I never would go. Today you can say what you want. Then you can get me with the police and put me in the jail. Then that's a political thing for me. And I had already I was already a call. I had a paper with me for a hospital who wanted to put me into their laboratorium for a good work. And I said, oh, that's new to us, that someone comes here and has already his call and a contract, a draft, that we would take you if you are free for us. And then he said, okay, sir, wonderful, you made it well. So have a good life without the military. Yeah, so that is how I learned to say no. And I want to say that a little bit, I want to say, give a little bit power to younger people with that track and the lyrics of Wolfgang Borchardt.
Wonderful. So on the entire album, do you have a favorite? Are you allowed to have a favorite track?
On this one? Yeah, I change mostly between Magazine and Billionaire.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's difficult. I'm like Wolfgang. You know, I can have a favorite, and then an hour later it will be something completely different. So, but as we just talked about, Say No at the moment, I would say that's maybe my favorite, because I'm just thinking about it right now and how beautiful it is, and just how well it all came together, and the message and the power behind it, the melodies. I think it's a very, very, very beautiful piece of work.
I put it a little bit out of the competition with the other songs, you know, because it's so different and it's literature and has a very political and ethic meaning inside. So the other tracks are entertaining music. So that's why I put that out of the questions. What is the, of course, do I like Say No? But as said, I wouldn't compare it with the other tracks. The other tracks can be very good compared as entertaining music. You know what I mean? Can you understand what I say? The other one is like classical music or something that has not to do with enjoying someone for dancing or for having a good time, you know. It has a big message inside, and that is why I put it out of the competition with the others.
I think something that comes across in the music, but also when you talk to you two, is just how affectionate you are and how much you respect each other and each other's views, and that really comes across, and it's so lovely to see that, you know, you're just such good friends and you've got an amazing partnership.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, I think we do. I think it's you know, it's we treasure it very much, and it's always a joy to be out on the road together and writing music together, and just out having dinner together and just chatting and talking about life and the world. You know, it's a special thing, and obviously the music, like Wolfgang said, it's very, very important to us. And you know, we've had our moments where we have disagreements, but that's all natural and normal, and that's part of the creative tension. And but ultimately, I think you know, we're both very proud of what we've produced so far and what's coming out.
Discussions are very important. When we don't agree to anything, that creates something, suddenly something completely new, you know, which we have not expected before. Just one example, for the next album, Times, we had also a discussion on one track we were working on pretty early, because I said to Peter, I'm a space fan. I want to have a song on space, any theme on space, you know, with rockets and with planets and anything. And we started working on that. We had the lyrics and some things, and then our way spread, you know. We didn't know both that we were both working on a draft of an arrangement. And then we couldn't come together, or we couldn't bring them together at least. And then we really decided something which was completely new to us. We made from this theme two different songs. So they are both on the album. So it is called Starship Universe. And we thought at first we have a Starship Universe #1, and we have a Starship Universe 2. So like in former Kraftwerk times, Kometenmelodie 1 and Kometenmelodie 2 on one album. So one theme with different music on. And I think it is a good decision that we did that, because we have two different songs for the fans now. And the second one has a different name now. It's called Monday to the Moon. So we have only one track, that is Peter's one. I love that very much. Again, we have that different between us. It's more the intellectual one, the intellectual arrangement with the Starship Universe. And I have engaged a young lady, which I fell in love with her voice already since we did this Night Drive, so with Victoria Port. And I asked Victoria if she would sing some lyrics in our new song. So that's why it is completely different. We have now a female girl inside, a young lady. She's not so young, she's already mother, and beautiful, by the way. And then she sings it so brilliantly. And Monday to the Moon is a script on a German newspaper, the Bild-Zeitung, Picture Zeitung. It was a big headline, Monday to the Moon. It's recorded that for me. And I find this idea so lovely, because why just Monday? And another one would say, yeah, why not Monday, you know? For me, it's Monday, yeah. It's the best time to go to the moon. So that's new. maybe it will not be often, but this, I think, was the best decision we did, that we make 2 versions.
Yeah.
So when is the new album coming out?
It is already ready. So the album is ready, but at the moment we have problems with the release, because I left my current record company and we are searching a new one, and we get only no's at the moment. So that's interesting. It's a very good new album. I think it's minimum the same quality, 10 tracks this time. And I have a label manager, Barnaby Ashton Bullock, who's a freelancer, who is at the moment in talks with different record albums, but record companies. But at the moment, he is a bit frustrated. He said, I get only no's at the moment, Wolfgang. I don't know what's happening. But he has still some good addresses in common, so we wait. I have time. Peter has time. We are still in a little bit in this cloud of having a #1 in England. It was it was so unbelievable for us, so fast. A week after or 2 weeks after, it was so fast in the top 10. Hanging here on my wall, I made a big copy of this paper print. The top 40 UK electronic albums, March 2022. Wolfgang Flür, Magazine 1 on #1. And you know who is on number 16? Kraftwerk, the main remaster. So I have taken them over. There are very, very interesting others. On #2 is Wilkinson Cognition. And we have other interesting. The Prodigy is on 6. Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark is on 7.
Have you told Andy that he's number 7?
No, we don't speak anymore since my offer singing for me. Because it was new to him that I sing. And generally that I'm a singer now.
Oh.
It was completely, he thinks still I'm a drummer. I told him I would not even drum for you. I made a contract after Kraft, I don't drum anymore, because everyone can do it better today, especially with the machines. And the machines make me work less at Kraftwerk, with the sequencer.
Are you?
Yeah, I think we're just waiting for the right label. So there's no rush to put it,
No, we have to.
Oh, you guys don't rush things, do you? You take your time. That's fine.
Yeah, there's no need.
Are any of the new tracks making it into your live shows ahead of the album?
Not yet. We would not tell anything what is coming next. Maybe I would say we wait until it is out, and then we choose which one would be prepared for live showing. We would wait a little bit then, that we have some surprises for the future. At the moment, it is still so new what we have now prepared for the live show, that we could do it minimum 1 or 2 years more, that nobody is bored. We have also played in English clubs for 2 or 3 times, and the people come even more and more and like that program as it is now, But even I have two new ones, and that when we come to the Water Rats and to the Castle and Falcon in October, they see some news inside with very attractive videos as well. Also, Peter's show has improved. Yeah,
it's always growing. Yeah.
Question for Peter: what's the best thing about working with Wolfgang?
I think just the way we work, the chemistry, and the belief and trust in each other. And, like I said before, I've generally I've been in bands and so on, but generally worked on electronic music in quite a solitary way. But I think one of the things that maybe Wolfgang's quite modest about, or people don't recognize so much, is just the melodies that are inside him, and the romantic melodies and the beautiful melodies. And sometimes they're quite simple, sometimes they're quite complex, but they're always really moving, you know, like I was talking about on Say No when I got that melody. And, you know, that feeling you get, I mean, it's a special feeling because you know it's something really beautiful and precious for the track. But we have that understanding of each other, you know, we have an appreciation that even if we don't necessarily agree on something, we'll give it a bit of room and see how it grows and develops. And ultimately that always generally proves to be right. So, you know, I think we're very honest with each other. We're very open and honest. And I think that leads to, you know, a really nice working arrangement. And of course we're the best of friends as well. So it's great. You know, we spend a lot of time together now that COVID's out the way. We spend a lot of time traveling and with Wolf and Zuhal, his wife, and we have lots of good friends. And it's just a special thing, you know, the chemistry, the friendship, and the creative side. It's all good.
Not bad for a drummer, eh?
Yeah. Well, I'm a drummer as well originally, so I think
okay. Oh, that's it. You see, that's fantastic. And Wolfgang, how about you, sir? What's the best thing about the relationship with Peter?
Yeah, I can only say the same words as he does. I mean, at the first is I think that he's there. You know, that I met him. That is the best thing. At least I could not foresee that. Why I was asked to Hampton Bridge to bring my show then. That was okay for me, but the most important part was what comes out of that with this guy, who when you turn the album to the backside and you see this photo, it is just when we came from the car park where he put us my wife and me into our hotel, and my wife took a photo from us, and it looks like we were friends or brothers since 10 years. And we now was at 55 minutes, you know. That's correct. And it's exactly looking like that. And I did not know then what comes out of this man on my side, which takes the arm around my shoulders, you know. Mm-hmm. And it is like a brotherhood, really. And I'm very, very thankful for this.
Lovely. Mm-hmm. Well, that's been lovely. Thank you very much. We've really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you both.
We've really enjoyed it. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for giving us an insight into your wonderful working relationship. I've got to ask you a question though about space. If both of you had the chance to go into space, would you go?
Absolute. Immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I meet Elon Musk, he would give us the chance, because a big Kraftwerk fan. Oh. And I said, we have in our new track, we have announced his rockets.
SpaceX.
SpaceX is the most. Nah, I don't tell more.
Okay.
He would be happy about it.
So keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'd love to go into space. It would be a dream. Not too far. Just want to see the Earth from, you know, a few hundred miles away and then come back.
Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah. And what's your favourite robot?
Favourite robot?
Yeah.
That one's quite cool. Yeah.
No, it's standing.
Do you like sci-fi movies?
No, for me, it is standing on the meadow behind my house. It's yellow and it's electric and it's a sheep.
Ah.
Electric sheep.
Lovely. Ours is K9 from Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, I used to love K9.
That's a good one.
Remember Metal Mickey?
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit more of a playful. Yeah, K9 was a bit more scary. I was always scared of K9 when I was little for some reason.
We've got a K9 here.
Oh, have you?
I don't know it. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know K9. Yeah, Doctor Who.
Okay. Like? Bridget will get you K9 because it's from Doctor Who, and this was from 1977 or 78. And for Bridget's birthday a couple of years ago, I wanted to get her something really special. and I found the original K9 from 1978 that you could buy, and I bought it from a collector, and he didn't want to let it go, and I managed to get it, and it works. He drives around because Bridget's a big Doctor Who fan. So this is K9.
Oh my God! Oh yes.
K9, and he has all the buttons that work, and you can
Look at the dog. This is my case.
Yeah.
lovely.
Oh,
That's lovely.
He's a lovely dog. So
Enough you go.
K9, that's our favourite robot.
yeah.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Good boy.
Right.
Doggy style, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right, well, we've enjoyed that. Thanks very much, guys. And the invitation is out there to both of you. If you're passing Worcestershire and you want a cup of tea,
Yeah.
you are more than welcome.
I take some sauce, some bottles of sauce with me.
Yeah.
We're coming to see you in March in London, actually.
Yes. At the
Brilliant.
Electronic Cafe.
Okay.
Electronic Cafe event.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be
Yeah.
Would be great.
That is a big date, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
That's lovely.
Yeah, Johnny, Bridget, send me your numbers, and if I'm in your area, I'll drop you a WhatsApp or a text or something and see if you're around.
That would be lovely.
Cool.
Yeah. And we'll cook you a curry.
Oh yeah.
No, we wouldn't dare.
No. Too much pressure.
We can make one together.
We wouldn't dare.
A curry with some Worcestershire sauce on.
Yeah, Worcestershire sauce curry.
That's an idea.
Curry collaboration.
Yeah, we'll call it the Wolfgang curry now.
Yeah. Okay, I like it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
everyone.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone have a good day. Yeah?
Have a lovely
And a
day.
nice
Thank
week.
you.
Bye bye.
And you. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you much for talking. It was a nice time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Halfway through, we realize someone loves, someone cries.